I'm Kyle Kistner, community member at bZx. Going to tell you a little bit about what's happening and what's going to happen with the protocol. All right, so let's just start. Some of you may or may not be familiar. We're bZx. We're fundamentally a lending protocol. So you can lend, you can earn interest on your assets, you can borrow if you want to tap into your equity in your current assets, and more uniquely, you can margin trade right there on layer one. But we also have quite a few other chains that we've launched on and more to talk about with regards to that. Our price feeds are all powered by Chainlink. We really love Chainlink for keeping everything secure. It's the most trusted Oracle and DeFi that secured the most amount of value. So you can see our interface. It's very simple. You come in, no accounts, 3 clicks, one and done. We really love it. We've gotten great feedback from it. We've launched on BSC and Polygon recently. This has been a really interesting experiment for us. Next, we're going to be launching on Optimism. So the launch on Optimism is going to be coming within the next month. So we're hoping to be the first protocol that is launching on Optimism, giving you the ability to borrow, lend, and margin trade at much lower fees. People have been demanding this a ton, and we're really excited about the Optimism launch, about integrating with Uniswap version 3 on Optimism. We've been using Chainlink Keepers and integrating that infrastructure into the protocol. This is super useful. As a protocol, you have to rely on either the community or some first party to set up this elaborate keeper like this liquidation infrastructure. It can be quite difficult to make sure that the infrastructure is robust. Even if you have incentives there, it's not always guaranteed that they're going to be capitalized on. And having Chainlink Keepers gives us third-party infrastructure that is just as reliable as our oracles. So we're not just going to be using this for liquidations, but one of our community members, Dripto, who recently started building on the protocol via a grant from the Treasury. He's been working on stop orders and limit orders, both of which are going to be using Chainlink Keepers, so you can really rest knowing that you're going to have reliability for your stop orders, your limit orders. They're going to execute where you want them to execute. So a little bit about the governance. This is a thing that just changed really recently. We have finally completely DAOified. And this has been a long time coming. We've been talking about going to a DAO for years now. We've been looking at different designs. We've been looking at different test runs that have been done elsewhere in the ecosystem. One thing that we have found is that the compound governance module, it works. It's worked well across a whole number of projects. It's been battle tested. And we believe that this is a really great solution. We were concerned at first. We're like, there needs to be a way to delegate people community members who can pause the protocol in case something happens just temporarily. But, there is a way to do that. You can just vote in a proposal and create as many pause guardians as you want in a decentralized fashion. We think that's fantastic. We've spun out the tokens into this absolutely massive treasury that we're so excited for the community to get hold of and start piloting. So our treasury, this might not be well known at this point, especially since we just DAOified. The treasury has just come online, but the treasury is one of the biggest in the entire industry at this point. It's over, when I made this presentation, actually, the treasury was around 125, but it's actually grown in the last few days even, making it one of the biggest in the industry. I think probably the 8th biggest treasury, DAO treasury in the entire industry, over $100 million that the community can just fund development with, fund third-party projects with, fund any kind of third-party developers and protocols that want to make use of our backend protocol. So we really want to emphasize that this is a big change and a big difference, and there's an ability to come in and start proposing things and make a real difference. So I'll also note that we've only DAOified on Ethereum so far. We're still looking to DAOify on Polygon, on bSC, on Optimism. Polygon and bSC actually have their own treasuries as well that can fund their own development. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So when we launched on Polygon and we launched on bSC, we kind of tried an experiment that I don't know if any others have tried, but this is like some really good data. So we launched new tokens on each chain under the premise that we wanted to bootstrap liquidity. And what we saw was on bSC, we had actually reached over $1 billion in total value locked with this liquidity mining program. Unfortunately, you know, things with bSC kind of took a rough turn. There were, you know, activity slowed down. There were some concerns about, you know, the state of the network growing too fast, issues with the network and all of that. And, you know, we found that a lot of projects kind of struggled. The token kind of struggled. And one of the big things we kind of noticed was that, you know, when you launch these new tokens, it's like this whole process has to go, you have to go through this whole process of getting the token listed. And then like the liquidity is split between, you know, your main token, this new token and all of that. Your community is really split in a big way. And we actually found it very difficult to support both tokens, both in terms of like, you know, like having somebody listed and it getting really liquid. But we also found that, you know, with these tokens, it created also like a marketing challenge as well, right? So, you know, like now it's like, oh, all this copy, all this stuff. How do you communicate to the community? Like, oh, now there's this different token and what does it do? And, you know, and then when we launched a third token on Polygon, we saw again, there was a huge spike in TVL. You know, combined across our deployments at our highest point, I think we reached about $1.7 billion in total value locked. And in a sense, that was like a really big triumph. There was a huge amount of revenue collected and there was zero dilution of bZx holders in terms of like having to mint tokens or having bZx tokens go off into circulation and all of that. You know, there was preferential liquidity mining for bZx holders so that they could easily gain a stake in ownership in the network. But overall, I think what we found was that the multi-token model has not been like exactly the smashing success that we would like it to be. We kind of saw like sort of flash in the pan, $1 billion, lots of revenue, and then just sort of like a quite harsh taper off. I'd say that the Polygon deployment and the PGov token that we launched, it actually did better than the bSC token, in part, I think, because the cash flows were more consistent on Polygon. The trading volumes were more consistent on Polygon. There wasn't as much of a taper off in the activity. But I think as a retrospective for the community, we're not sure that we would have launched new tokens like we did. And with the Optimism launch, we're also thinking that, hey, maybe we're going to change it. We're going to have bZx be the main token there. But that also presents its own problems as well. So it's really nice that you can easily spin off like governance with these new tokens. But when you have bZx on one chain and then on another chain, both controlling these protocols, then there's questions as to, well, how does governance work exactly? Do you have like two governance modules, one on each chain that can control it? Or do you have just one central governance module that like kind of sends it off cross-chain, governs really cross-chain? I think like been watching around. I think Aave is trying to take the approach. I could be wrong. Stani, if you're watching, I think Aave is trying to take the approach of going and distributing it cross-chain. I'm not sure if we'll do that. We're definitely watching and seeing what these strategies for governance cross-chain are shaping up to be. So the community, we're DAOified now. Everything is run by the community members. I'm a community member. Nobody's in charge anymore. Love giving this presentation anyway. So the community is working on a bunch of really cool stuff, permissionless listings, security mining, the stop and limit orders, as we mentioned, a reimagined brand, and a totally different front end. So just to go down the list a little bit here, the permissionless listings. So imagine you could trade, you could go long or short on any asset whatsoever, just like with Uniswap, you can trade any asset. What if a lending protocol became essentially the Uniswap of lending? Well, that's what we're doing. And the concept of security mining ties right into this. So the concept is that bZx holders can stake their assets to any individual trading pair. Our protocol is set up a little bit different than like Compound or Aave or DYDX and these others in that they set risk parameters on a per asset basis, but risk parameters in bZx, the bZx protocol are actually set on a per trading pair basis, which allows a lot more granularity. So that's why we're able to offer like 15 times leverage on trading stablecoin to stablecoin pairs. Like, for example, if you wanted to arbitrage some deviation in the DAI peg, this platform, our platform, would probably be the best place to do that. So you can actually start staking your bZx on specific trading pairs. And when you do that, you start receiving part of the revenue from not just from that trading pair, but also partially from the rest of the ecosystem. So if you don't stake, you're gonna stake to a pair, you'll receive a little less, but you're still going to be receiving significant amount of pairs. You stake to a pair, you're backing up that pair. You're going to be ensuring the counterparty risk of that pair. So you might be familiar with like how Aave kind of has stakers and they're functioning, they're kind of covering any counterparty risk on the protocol. But with ours, you're going to be able to kind of really zero down on which counterparty risk you're most willing to take. And we expect yields to kind of equilibrate across all pairs. And if they don't, that gives governance information about what the market is thinking about the risk parameterization of that specific pair. So you extend that, right, to any arbitrary trading pair. And now you have a way to ensure that, like, basically these stakers are covering any potential malicious token or any kind of way of draining the inner cloister of lending pools. So we're really excited about permissionless listing. That's something that's coming down the pipeline that the community is working on. Stop limit orders as well is nearly done. The reimagined brand, we're going to show you a little sneak peek, just a little sneak peek of what's coming. And if you check our Twitter, I encourage you to, there's about a minute-long video that'll show you what the overall front end is going to look like. It's not a full survey, but it's just a sneak peek. All right. So we're going to play this video here. All right, that was it, guys. That's the sneak peek, just a little bit of the upcoming rebrand. All right, well, thank you very much, everybody. I'm Kyle Kistner, and this was bZx, Current and Future Directions.